really deciding like, hey, I am ready to ascend into these different vibrations of beingness. So the idea and the belief that I have is that she is a being herself. She has a spirit and she has a soul path. And we're in this golden age, this new earth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today we have Amber Jane Arquette. She is the Shamanic Medicine Woman with Amber Jane Healing. So excited to have you back, Amber Jane. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's nice to be here and see your shining face. You look so beautiful today. I just have to say that. I know
Oh,
that people are
thank
probably
you.
just listening to us, but your
I
face is
think
all glowy and
I'm my light, my little light.
yeah.
So tell us before we get started, what is in your coffee cup this morning?
Oh, I treated myself. So usually I have black coffee and I love black coffee. Um, and also have these little packets of mushroom and cocoa.
Wow.
And so I did like a coffee mushroom cocoa and used my little frother. And I had such a fun time making myself a drink. It feels like, we're just like trying to get through that last stretch of winter up here in the Pacific Northwest. It's been so dark and wet and cold this year.
Yes, absolutely. I know I love having that. I probably have used the same kind, the mushroom and the cacao or cocoa,
Hmm.
all those, and I have like the matcha and all of the mushroom matcha, all that stuff. I kind of like just choose whatever and you froth it up and it's just creamy and it's amazing. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's like you're having a little dessert, but it's all good for you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know. And today to me, I know it seems like I'm hoping today is that last really chilly day that's going to it's supposed to slowly start warming up. But yeah, it's been a really
Mhm.
long winter. I
Yeah.
totally get it. I know you're not too far from me.
Mm-mm.
We're like,
Mm-mm.
what, probably 30 minutes down the river.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah. Well,
It's
I
actually fun to hear you say downriver because my husband, he grew up on the river, like in population of 100 in Horse Creek, California. And so we often talk about like, oh, Jake's house upriver and Elin's house downriver. So I hardly ever hear that. Like, oh, yeah, a river lover.
yeah.
Or, yeah, a river liver, I guess, where you live
Yes.
in
Yeah.
orientation to the river. Yeah. So cool.
So, oh my gosh, I am so excited to talk about what we're talking about today because it's just fun to hear everyone's perspective about this change into this big transition that we're going through astrologically, metaphysically, everything that's going on. And so let's just dive into what your perspective is. I know you get messages, you get information
Mhm.
that comes to you. So I'm going to let you explain that because I love it. It's so interesting. I want to hear your perspective.
Yeah, sure. So, and just to get your question clear, because I heard two, there
Oh,
one
okay.
question of like, what the heck is happening right now on Earth? This
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
And then the second is kind of how I receive that information. Is that
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So, my story is that I've just been intuitive and tapped in my whole life. I was kind of one of those people that were born in with a lot of gifts turned on. I always felt like an old soul, and people would often older than me say like, "Wow, how can you be so young and think like that?" or say some sage advice. Um, I could see auras. I could really tap in and feel that the plant nation and the tree nation and nature that all felt very alive to me. And that's you and I's connection. And where we met was through the doTERRA oils and how alive they are, and how you can sometimes, to me, I can hear them and then hear their messages on how they can help heal us. The other thing was talking to dead people. I actually would see ghosts. And so it wasn't until like 2015 that I stepped into my actual training. So it took me a long time and lots of, loops and U-turns and adventures along the way in my life to get to shamanic training of healing modalities, energy medicine, ceremony, and song. So I learned sound healing, and I learned a lot of indigenous or Lakota songs, but also how to catch and allow the spirits of the songs to sing through you. So I use all of that in my practice now that I have in Portland, Oregon. And so I'm regularly in conversation with my guides. That's kind of how I've been trained, is that we have somewhat of a daily practice of kind of almost like when people talk about like going in and meditating and getting quiet so they can connect to their inner wisdom. It's that, and then these other conversations with the relationships with the spirits and guides that I work with. And also in healings, I'll get a lot of information that way. So they'll kind of show me this kind of bigger collective consciousness or collective experience that is happening that my client may be connected to. And so for a while, it's been happening, this ascension spiral. And what I like to kind of come down to is this idea of connecting to Earth. So more and more, Earth has been asking for our attention, and we have become more and more aware of her, our impact, what's happening with the animal kingdom, what's happening with the trees and the land. And Earth herself, the messages that I have been getting, is really deciding like, hey, I am ready to ascend into these different vibrations of beingness. So the idea and the belief that I have is that she is a being herself. She has a spirit and she has a soul path. And we're in this golden age, this new earth becoming as participants. And I just heard the other day, which I thought was super sweet and compassionate, that even though it feels really fast for us, that this other spiritual leader was saying the earth is slowing it down so that we can get on board.
Oh,
So
wow.
that we can go through our own ascension process with a little bit more ease and grace. And I was like, oh yeah, that really rings true to me, even though it feels like everything's going crazy fast and all these, different things are happening and unraveling. There's a lot of unraveling happening.
Yeah.
And so as we go through the ascension process with her, we have experiences like all of a sudden we're more intuitive. Maybe we have a greater spiritual connection. Maybe we're having a spiritual awareness or awakening that's happening. The earth herself is vibrating at a faster speed than ever before. So when they used to kind of measure the hertz of the earth, it was like 7, 8, 9. Now it's like in the 200s. Like
Wow.
that is the significant difference, right?
Mhm.
So if anybody has been feeling like, oh my gosh, just all this stuff. And in the galaxy too, if we look at the alignments that have been happening in the cosmos and astrology, there have been like some really challenging alignments that allow us to kind of peel off the layers of inauthentic, false identities, stuff that just really isn't us, that's part of the conditioning of the collective consciousness or the conditioning of our cultures on the planet, westernized more, the kind of idea of pursuit of something no matter the cost of everything else, right? And so we're seeing that on all the different levels play out. We're seeing that contrast, and we're really, it's that kind of idea of like when we turn up the light, when the sun gets brighter, the shadows get darker, right? They get more defined. And so we get to see them and we get to call them out. So you can really see that right now in the political arena, and the activists are really, their voices are so loud right now. And I think the other thing that's really important is to realize that if you have come here with compassion and empathy, with the idea that we can create something better together, you believe in social justice and, justice for people to be able to live and thrive, and that you have just this community, global community kind of mindset, then you have come here to help birth this new earth. And then a new earth is literally this creation kind of out of the soil, not necessarily trying to change what's already there, but putting our energy in creating something different and being that vibration that allows us to channel the energies and be in the alignment of the solutions that we're looking for. But I truly believe like we're here at this time to help create something new, as some people are helping to dismantle the old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love your explanation. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like I could talk on and on about it. And I feel like just like sitting with that idea of like, even if it doesn't feel like I'm doing all the things that I could possibly be doing, right? Because we have this kind of built in like, well, what else am I doing? And what else can I do? And kind of this pressure to do and accomplish um and yeah, just be the change.
Yeah.
And just to sit back and be like, my connection to me, to the earth, my commitment to my spiritual self, to my well-being, and my prayers as a broadcast to everything out in the world matters. Like we
Yeah.
need a both and. It's all about both and now. So even if we're seeing the contrast of the light and the dark, it's finding the both and. How can you and I have connection and great conversation and even, friendliness and all these things, but maybe not aligned in every single viewpoint or every single way that we live our lives. So it's the both and.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell us what are some things that we can be doing like daily for to help with this and to help ground us, and what are some things you think are beneficial for us to be doing in like our daily ritual?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I created something really exciting this year for me because so I've written a book before, but I wrote a journal, and it was funny because it came very organically. I had no idea or goal to like publish something. And it happened because my husband, my mother-in-law, who I've known for 20 years, she got diagnosed with ALS, and I knew right away that I had to help all of us kind of count the blessings and pay attention to like what's happening today that went well, what's happening in her body now that we can appreciate, and helping to kind of tend to our emotional and spiritual well-being. Because when we do that, we can receive the blessings. We can come into an alignment of the solutions easier. We can even attract the right doctors or the luck, or, just things can unfold with ease and grace. So I started writing these like journal prompts for her. And me and my daughter sat down and we were kind of just writing them out for her. And all of a sudden I was like, I want this. I
Ah,
want this like a daily tool to
yeah.
where I tap in like more than the gratitude practice. Like what else can I embody besides gratitude? And how can I retrain my brain to constantly be kind of paying attention to what is going well instead of categorizing or creating a long list of all the horrible things that are happening or the challenging things that are happening, right? Because we've been conditioned that way. That's the way our society is like, what needs fixing, what, maybe doesn't belong, right? So some of it's helpful, some of it's not so helpful, but it outweighs our kind of like mental focus. And positive mindset, you know, is just like the core of influencing everything else and allowing us to see the good. It's not dismissing the negative or downplaying anything that's happening in your life. It's just adding to the bucket or the list of the things going well. So in this daily journal, there's all these different prompts of like what brought happiness today. List the things you have accomplished, the ways that you have showed up, because I feel like people who are very compassionate or maybe empathetic or loving, they tend to just not realize how much they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Write 2 things that bring you joy or delight in your life. Yeah, so I go through all of these different, we do a body appreciation. When was the last time you felt love? What are your strengths? If you could wish for anything, what would it be? And so that's the mental part, is like taking time to kind of reflect on your life and write these things down. And then I invite you into the embodiment practice. And I don't feel like people are super learned about this, like they don't know about it very well. But embodiment is when we actually invoke the feeling. So something you might have noticed in the gratitude practice is that we're just writing a list. Like, I'm thankful for my warm bed. I'm thankful for these flowers that I got. I'm thankful for the sunrise, right? But when we actually feel it in our body, that's when things start to change. That's when we have big effect, right? We're raising our vibration. We're coming into alignment to ease, grace, happiness, luck, whatever it is we're asking for, but also allowing ourselves to feel. It helps with our emotional wellness. It lowers stress.
Yeah.
It helps us recalibrate. And it also helps us to kind of come out of the awareness of overwhelm and into more clarity. So that's kind of the focus and the invitation of the journal, is to every day have a prompt where you're writing about something and then thinking, what emotions are connected to that? So I may have the strength of listening. And what emotions are connected to the strength of listening? Well, I think of compassion, interest, curiosity, joy in what they're saying, shared experience, intimacy, closeness, right?
Yeah.
So then I get to feel those feelings in my body. So sometimes I'm helping people go to a memory, and other times I'm asking you to imagine. If you don't know what joy, if life has been so effing hard, I don't know if I get to cuss on here, and I cannot remember what joy feels like, then I invite you to think of somebody else. Like my favorite is uh, the bunny in Zootopia, Judy Hopps. Have you seen Zootopia?
I need to
It's
see
the
it.
cutest. Oh my gosh, it's the cutest movie. I like Moana and Zootopia. It's super great movies. Um, so or The Rock, right? Like he's hilarious. He's a
Yeah.
very joyful person. So what does joy look like on him? And how could you imagine that in your body?
I love that you're saying that. I know you're probably really familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just listening. I've been revisiting, I read some of his books and stuff. I've been revisiting lately some of his videos and things. And just as you're saying this, I'm thinking of just recently, I was listening to something. He was talking about the science behind what you're saying, which
Mm.
totally in alignment with what you're saying. Like
Yeah. It's so cool. The science is cool.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our bodies actually physically change because of that when you're embodying the feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important step. And so I actually created a free 5-day journey through the journal, whether you've purchased the journal or not. And I have just I did it live and did it with a group of people, and then I went through and kind of recorded it so it's available anytime. And so if you want to know about that, people can email me at hello Amber Jane Healing, and I can connect you to the 5-day journey through these journal prompts, because I really wanted to help people understand that how to do embodiment and what that means, because that is how we manifest, how we create life, how we attract or repel, how we attract positive people, how we repel the grumpy people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's also, part of how we keep our spiritual and emotional well-being. So I feel it to me has been super important to think about, like, how are we nourishing ourselves in a way that's, I'm really into strategic planning that's very efficient. So like
I love
maximizing,
that.
right? So if we do this one or two things, how many ways can we influence our lives or ourselves, our consciousness, right, our mental, emotional being at the same time? So that's kind of what this journal allows you to do, is like maximize in the strategic way.
I love that. I know I'm like that too. I'm always with my whole life. I'm like, how can I just streamline things, the most out of it, right?
Yeah,
So,
right. Totally.
so
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about your program, the
Sacred Sovereignty course.
Sacred Sovereignty? I always hear sovereignty, sacred sovereignty.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about your program. You do such magical things. Like everything you do is awesome. So tell me about it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really I feel like my business is really turning into like 50% is people on my healing table and virtual clients around the world, and then really stepping into teaching. What I noticed in that years before I got to my training is it was hard to feel authentic. It was hard to know what was mine and what was somebody else's. It was hard to make decisions or feel really clear about what I wanted, because when we're empath, or when we're highly sensitive, it feels like it's all us. Unless we have this kind of practiced awareness and empowerment, like vitality, energy, and spiritual empowerment is what I mean by that. So it's an actual energetic thing that Joe Dispenza would probably give us some great science on. And with that grounded centeredness, we can start to kind of discern, have more discernment. So to me, sovereignty means that we have discernment. We also have energetic power. So like that idea of like, how do we create energetic boundaries? Well, we actually use our energetic fields. We channel energy, which we do all day long anyway. That's how our spirit is in our body. We're channeling our spirit, we're channeling our emotions. We can even channel our words and our thoughts for people who like kind of feel like, oh, this message is coming through and I'm so articulate about it. Like that's channeling wisdom, either from your higher self, or from a spirit. So to me, that's kind of the sovereignty we're going for. And then so that you can walk in the world with greater ease, but also so you can start creating life from a place that's more sovereign, right? A place that feels more like, oh, I know what I desire. I'm clear about who I am. And actually, I'm not going to go there. I was going to kind of go into relationships a little bit, because sometimes we can try to take on other people's stuff and fix it for them.
Yeah.
And people who are just like natural intuitives or natural healers kind of tend to lean that way just subconsciously. We start just feeling the bigness of everything, or feeling the details of somebody else's experience, and thinking, oh, if I transcend it, if I transmute it, then I can help them. But that's not really how energy works.
Yeah.
We can, yeah, definitely like clear something or influencing something out of our fields, but we can't change the person who's the broadcast of it, right? They have to decide to heal it and change it on their own. Again, it's like turning on and off the radio or turning to another station. So
Yeah.
it's like we can affect the symptoms, but we can't affect the source.
Right.
So that's another thing that I think when we come into great sovereignty and discernment, we can understand like, oh, that's just theirs. And I can do all of these different things that I know how to do to have sovereignty, so that I'm not being influenced, or it's not taking me out or taking me down. So in the Sacred Sovereignty course, it's 5 weeks. It's pretty intensive. We go through invocation, which is a style of calling in all the spirits and guides and protector beings. making that kind of all call. I'm going to create a container around myself or a container of this group. If you're a spiritual leader or you do like new moon circles or something like that, and you want to have more magnified or amplified energetic field around the ceremony or ritual you're doing, you can do an invocation for the whole entire group. And this does two things. It attunes you, so it's actually changing your vibration to the vibration of spirit, to the vibration of protection. And it's also calling closer, because we have this free will thing down here on planet Earth where our guides will kind of stay at bay until we call them in. And it's just part of the dynamic way of being and existing here on Earth, and our purpose, or maybe our lessons that we're working on. So anyways, in invocation, I think the two most important things is that we're doing it so that we start to feel for like 5 weeks. Wow, what is it like when I attune myself and call in all of my spirit guides so that I'm not walking alone in the world? I'm creating this energetic container and I'm making it personal. So I have people really tap in, like, what's in your lineage? What has showed up for you all of your life? Well, who do you love? You know, is it Mother Mary? Is it Shiva? Is it the elephants? Is it, you know, the
Yeah.
mountains? And then we go through all the layers. So we talk about invocation. We dive into your gifts and understanding your gifts. I teach about imbuing, which is like programming crystals and sacred objects so that they can hold power and energy for you. I'm going to use power and energy simultaneously. And then I help you do a journey to meet a benevolent guide. And this guide is specific to the higher realms. And in the higher realms, just to be like short and sweet about this, there's this unconditional service. Like they just really, they don't want anything in exchange. They don't have any agenda. They want to just show up and help. And what I've noticed and learned is that in the earth realms or earthbound spirits, they tend to have a little bit of agenda of their own, and they tend to want an exchange. So they're great to work with. They're not a bad spirit, but we also want to have these like stellar kind of like master healers, master teachers, these ascended beings.
Wow.
If we have access to them, we can have a bit more sovereignty in our life.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So it's 5 weeks, and like how much time do people need to put towards that? And is it all
Really,
online?
so I have a membership site. So there's 5 guidebooks, there's resources and downloads. We do one call a week that's about 90 minutes. We do a guided meditation and I deepen and kind of unpack the information that's in the guidebooks. And then everything else is up to you. I mean, if you want to just show up to the calls, or you just want to dive into the guidebooks, or you want to like, spend an hour every day, like it's a really like at your pace, and kind of there's so much for the beginner. I feel like for the beginner, this is like everything you would have ever wanted. And then for the advance, it's really like helping the nuances, putting like the missing puzzle pieces into the already like, spiritual practice or the way. It's kind of just like leveling them up a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I didn't hear that part. Sorry.
Oh, just so it sounds so amazing. I love everything that you're talking about. I think
Yay, thanks.
that.
Yeah. And next so I'm running it right now. It's happening right now. I'm going to do it again in the fall. So probably late September, October. And then between that time, I'm going to start working on course materials and the outline for another class. So like after you learn this, how to use these sacred tools and how to have this energetic boundary and container, then there's working with your guides and deepening these relationship with your guides, learning like how to merge with your guides, how to channel the information or the energies of your guides, and really how to help them, how to have them help you with very specific tasks that you might need in your life. So that feels really exciting and kind of is the new thing I'm working on.
You do so many magical things. I'm so excited. It's so cool.
Yay.
Well, gosh, Amber, so we'll put Amber Jane, we'll put all this information in the show notes, and so people can connect with you. Is there a specific way that's best to connect with you?
Either email or yeah, I think email is like kind of the best because I'm not always on my social media.
Okay.
Like I'm on Instagram and Facebook maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah. Well, gosh, thank you so much for being here. I always love hearing about what you're up to and sharing your wisdom. You're so magical. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your platform and you're always just bringing together interesting people doing amazing things on the earth. And I just feel like it's a hub for people to know that there are people working in contrast to what all the news is saying, right? And I
Yes.
think if I can leave like one last message for people is that that the news, if to really kind of discern what the channels of information is focusing on, right? Because everybody has a theme. And the theme of most major news, broadcasts is the negativity, what's going wrong, right? Back to the journal, like the list of what's going wrong in the world. And there are other people talking about what's going right in the world. So even if you want to stay connected or hear those stories of what's not going right in the world, you can balance it out with tapping into the people who are talking about what's going right and the good things that are happening.
Said that. I know. I think for anyone, like just to take like a 30-day break from the news and just like, I mean, if you can totally detach from it, that's wonderful. But just to take that break and see how you feel, like that difference of how you feel, because it's so negative, and we want positive, and we're our positive energy, like you said, like we are impacting the world, and we're bringing gifts just by going inside and
and it's not our job to take it all on. It's to find the spot that we're most passionate about, and it might be within our own family. It might be within our localized community, or it might be one of the bigger issues of the world where you feel like, this is my charge, this is my passion, this is what I want to change. And so, not to make anyone or any part of you wrong or right, it's just finding that place where you want to be and where you feel like you can make as best of an effect as you can.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we get to see you again soon.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Yeah.